You just killed the best friend I ever had.
You just killed the best friend you ever had?
I said I might have.
This is Dennis Hayes, a convicted predator whose long-term girlfriend was just found dead inside his home.
This morning I woke up and I could smell the blood, actually. Because at the time I'm not thinking she's dead at all. I mean, I'm thinking she's just sleeping.
What Dennis doesn't know is that investigators have already looked through his criminal history, and it tells them all they need to know.
How many times did you punch her tonight?
I don't know.
Watch how this man describes killing the woman he claimed to love, and still seems to think he's the good guy.
You know, I don't want to hurt you. I said, I don't want to fight with you. I said, I want to love you, okay? And she got all close, and I mean, she was bleeding at that point.
At 2:30 a.m. on August 15th, 2022, police in El Paso County, Colorado, received a panic call from a man who claimed his living girlfriend had overdosed on drugs. Law enforcement and emergency responders arrived at the trailer home of 62-year-old Dennis Hayes, who was ranting and almost incoherent. They found his girlfriend, 43-year-old Lisa Weidlich, on a mattress inside his trailer. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Lisa and Dennis had been in a relationship for 2 years. Prior to that, she had been homeless and in and out of shelters, struggling with drug addiction and estrangement from her family. As Dennis told his story to police, officers immediately noted the alarming discrepancies at the scene. Dennis had told them that Lisa, whom he called Emma, had suffered a drug overdose, but that didn't match what they were seeing at all. First, Lisa's face was heavily bruised and swollen. Dried blood was also found on her clothing. These details were totally inconsistent with an overdose, but they were consistent with violent physical abuse. Her death was quickly labeled suspicious, and once Dennis was brought into the nearest police station, their suspicions were confirmed. Watch as Dennis is about to spill all of the horrifying details of their relationship and Lisa's death, and alarmingly, doesn't seem to think he did anything wrong. Before his interview begins, Dennis puts on a show of emotionalism, but this act will end once it's time to talk.
Dennis, you doing okay?
No. You just killed the best friend I ever had.
You just killed the best friend you ever had?
I said I might have.
You might have.
There's a lot to unpack already. Watch how Dennis's body language changes dramatically as soon as the detective walks in. But when the detective thinks he's made a confession, he sharply corrects her.
Can I offer you some water? Are you thirsty?
Yeah, when I did CPR, I was sucking blood in, and then I wanted water to wash my mouth, and they said, well, we got to put the tape up first. Now everything's the tape stays there.
I'll get you a bottle of water, okay? My name's Lisa. Okay? I'm a sergeant here at the sheriff's office.
Her name was too, I think.
You think her name was Lisa too?
Well, I ran into her 3 different times in 2 years. Okay. And one time it was Emma. And then about last December, she was there. Been there for like 3 months at that time, where I'm at now, or where we was at.
Mm-hmm.
And she was going with Emma. And when they got there, when they come down to CJC, they said that then Stephanie told them this, and Stephanie told them that. You know, it was Stephanie Roberts.
This is cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So when I ran into her again, I mean, I got out of jail and I went looking for her, tried to find her, because I mean, I don't know. I think she's like a lost soul. I mean, her family maybe give up trying to work with her. Maybe, I don't know, because really wouldn't say. She kind of delusional. I mean, her mom works in a bank, and she can't. But in the spring, she can get time off to go to a wedding. We get married, but she can't do it now because she's working. And then she tried to get hold of her brother, and just back and.
That's me. Okay.
And so,
So let's back up just a little bit. So I just want you to know, my name is Lisa Montville. I'm a sergeant here at the sheriff's office. And I don't know if you keep up with local events or not, but there's a police funeral today. And so I'm covering.
I did not know that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we lost a coworker. So I'm covering.
Right from the start, we're going to get an idea of how the rest of the interrogation will go. Dennis talks in a fast-paced, rambling way and often leaps from topic to topic. The detective is going to have to decide if she wants to rein him in or let him talk himself out. Notice that Dennis refers to his deceased partner as Emma. This was the name she gave him during the relationship, though her real name was Lisa. From here on out, all references to Lisa and Emma should be assumed to be the same person.
But I just would like to talk to you about what happened today with your friend. Would that be okay with you?
I know I go against everything the lawyer ever told me. Don't ever say a word. But yes.
Okay. Just find out, what happened and kind of take it from there.
The detective works through Dennis's Miranda rights, with a lot of interruptions from Dennis.
Do you understand each of the rights I explained to you?
Yes.
Okay. Having these rights in mind, do you wish to speak with me now?
I'll talk to you, yeah.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What should I know about you?
Yes. Ever since 1988, 89, I've been back and forth with the law when I'm not in jail or prison, I guess. Convicted of and later they found out really wasn't what they thought it was, but when I was going through the public defenders, nobody told me that. I took a plea deal, find out later that our initial suspicions were unsubstantiated. But I'm already pled guilty to something that. So I kind of maybe have a deep down inside thinking, they kind of f*** me around.
Here, Dennis briefly mentions his criminal history. What he doesn't realize is that investigators have already looked into his past, and it's going to play a vital part in this investigation. What's more, his criminal record is not nearly as harmless as he tries to make it sound. Between 1990 and 2022, Dennis had multiple charges, including domestic violence against 3 different women, one of them being Lisa Weedledge, second-degree burglary, attempted and on a child. According to police reports, the latter crime had been committed against his own stepdaughter.
I don't know how that plays in, but in a way, how I see it is, I've kind of got to the point where I don't want a healthy partner, or so to speak. I want somebody that's just messed up as me, so we can just, get along.
Okay.
And this little girl was the world. I mean, she could do anything. I mean, she had, I don't know, I even talked to a guy who's kind of into, psychology or whatever, and I asked him, I said, there's a name for it, I know, but when it's like obsessive compulsive, like hand washing stuff, I kind of relate to there's a bunch of things going on, I think, in my head, I know there is, but she'd be fixated on one thing. If we're gonna go grocery shopping, yes. We're gonna go grocery shopping. It's 2:00 in the morning. I asked her if she wants to do something. Or, are we going grocery shop? I said, no. I said, so you gotta be open. I said, Emma, look. Stuff like that. Or she would get, she would be stuck on that. Like we were gonna haul scrap metal, and the place ain't gonna open up. I said, but we can go do that. I said, then when we dump the metal off, I said, we come back, we go right past Walmart, we can get the groceries in. Okay. I said, you gonna help me load this up? I said, get like the old lawnmowers and stuff that are back there, and I'll go get the stuff. Okay. And so I go out, and start doing it, and I holler, Emma, what you doing? I'm coming in a minute. An hour later, she's still. And I come in, I say, are you ready or what? Are we gonna go to the store? Because she's stuck on that, So I know that was going on. And then if
is this your girlfriend, Emma, wife? What?
Well, see, and I'm calling her Emma, but I think her real name is Lisa.
Lisa.
Because
Okay.
I met her 2 years ago, and by the 7-Eleven that's down there on South Nevada, when it's at a gas station.
Oh, okay.
It was probably more than 2 years ago, actually. But she was at that little gas station across the street. I seen her talking to people when I put gas in, and she come over. She said something about hi, and cause which way was I going? I said, I was going to go to Fountain, but I said, you know where Fountain is? She said, yeah, kinda. And a lot of people get Fountain and Fontaine
mixed up, yeah.
And,
I've experienced
Fountain,
that too.
And the street fountain, what goes up from the...
Throughout this interview, Dennis is going to go on long, rambling tangents whenever he gets the chance. Excessive rambling, focusing on unnecessary details, and leading the conversation are sometimes seen as signs of guilt. It doesn't mean he is guilty, but it's the kind of behavior that will immediately set off alarm bells for most detectives. Of course, it should be noted that Dennis has significant substance abuse issues, which could also explain his unfocused conversational style.
Was Emma using drugs at the time?
No.
Okay.
But and what I attributed to, she did smoke drugs, not with me, but she did smoke drugs. I know she did when I met her.
Okay.
I mean, we were talking.
Was she still smoking
she does
drugs?
Pot. She does pot, and she does pot now.
She just does pot now?
No, she does meth. We both did meth now.
You both did? When's the last time you used meth?
2 days ago now.
Okay, what about Emma?
As far as I know, 2 days ago.
2 days ago? Okay.
But I know she's been smoking, she has her little pipe and smoking pot. And I said, look, pot is legal in Colorado, but don't be smoking that when we're driving down the road. I said, because they don't know. When they see your torch flash, they don't know what you're smoking. I said, and I try to avoid the cops. I said, and she does too.
What'd you guys do yesterday? So today is Monday morning.
We worked on this friend of mine's car.
Okay, where at?
Over in Fairview Apartments off of Fountain and Circle. You know where the 7-Eleven is, right on the corner of Fountain and Circle by Donna's Donuts, or Debbie's
Amy's Donuts?
Amy's Donuts.
Yeah, sure do.
Just up the street when you're going north. It's the first apartment on the right.
Okay. What was your friend's name?
Marcos, and his wife's name is Trish.
What were you guys doing there? Working on his truck or your truck?
No, his car.
What was wrong with it?
She drove over a meeting in a BMW, a 2010 BMW.
How long were you guys over there helping them?
Yesterday, until I got mad and left. I said, we was there till about maybe 2:30. But the day before that, went over there at like 10, I think, in the morning, and I left at like 5.
The day before? Which
would have been Saturday.
What'd you get mad about when you left yesterday afternoon?
Because when we got there in the morning, Marcos, the husband, I wasn't mad about that, but, he said, you going to be here in the morning? I said, I'm trying to get here early. I said, it's too goddamn hot in the afternoon, because Saturday was like, and he had to take breaks because this was in the sun, and then Trish is out there trying to help, and she tells me, I did this and I did that, and if it was ever done, she didn't do it because she really didn't know. She said, you just take that out and this out. And then she'd be there, and, you got to take this out and this out.
So she was kind of directing you guys
what to do. She really hadn't done a bunch of that stuff.
From here on, Dennis jumps between the events of Saturday and Sunday in a confusing manner. It appears that he helped his friend Trish repair a car and took Lisa and Trish to find spare parts for the car. But when they decided to go shopping instead, he lost his temper.
And I went to the store, and they got eggs and bread and a shopping basket half full of stuff. I said, I'm done. I said, Trish, I'm done. I said, you know what? Just because you can't drive the wheels off your car and wreck it, I mean, I got things I want to do too,
Yeah, of course.
And I said, so get your get it paid for. Emma, you're buying it, I'm sure, because she don't got a penny to her name, off her food card. But I said, that's your business. I told you that's your money. You do what you want with it. I said, I'm just done. I said, when we get back, I said, I'm going to get my tools. We're going home. Okay, baby? Yeah. I said, I don't like this, Emma. I said, I told you, let's get going. I said, then you guys want to go shopping? She said, well, she needed, it was just, I said, I know, because, if she had $1, she'd give it to somebody else and go without. That's just the way she was.
So she had a good heart.
And I think that's because she's living on the street, so many people give her stuff, so she feels like she owes everybody.
What time did you drop Trish back off then?
We went to the house, and like I said, we left at 10-something, and it was a little after 12 when we got back.
Dennis mentions that when they returned to the house to repair the BMW, Trish and Lisa go off to smoke meth.
When her and Trish went in there, were they smoking dope, or what were they doing?
I don't know.
When they went into the apartment.
She said that she went into the bathroom. That's what she said.
That Emma went in the bathroom, or Trish?
I said, well, why'd you go in? She said, so I went to the bathroom.
Okay.
I said, okay. I said, baby, I don't care if you smoke dope. I said, I really don't give a but I said, I don't want to do that shit here. I said, do that at the house where, I said, Marcos and Trish, Marcos hates that. He was going to divorce over that shit.
So what time did you guys leave Trish and Marco's apartment?
I want to,
yesterday?
Like I said, about probably 3:30 maybe.
Okay.
We got back at 12, maybe about 2:30.
You headed back to your house
I went back to our house, yes.
Okay, the Squirrel Creek property, who all lives there?
There's me and this other girl. Her name is Liz.
Okay.
Probably for Elizabeth.
So you, Emma, and Elizabeth all live at the property?
Right, yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else live there?
Not now,
okay.
No.
Do you guys live in a house? Do you live in a tent?
Trailer houses.
Trailer houses.
Camper trailers.
Camper trailers, okay.
Right.
Which one does Elizabeth live in? Like, what can you describe what her camper looks like?
It's probably, I want to say, 30-foot bumper hitch trailer.
Okay. What color is it, do you know?
White.
White. And
her husband, the one who got killed in the motorcycle here this spring, put a porch on the front of it, a lean-to thing. It leaked.
And which one is your and Emma's camper? You guys live there together?
I have a little travel trailer. It's like an 18-footer.
Okay. What color is it?
White and brown with an orange stripe. This girl was out there. She painted, designs on it.
Okay.
And I have I don't know what year it is. 2000, like Pace uses for handicapped people. Got a wheelchair ramp in the back for picking. I have a bus like that. It's been gutted.
Okay.
And that's where me and Emma have been sleeping the last 2 days. Before that, we live in it's a little camper. It's a camper. A friend of mine gave it to me.
Why have you been staying in the other trailer?
Because we haul water, and I put the water jugs on the bed.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And the water jugs on the bed, and when you shut the door in the trailer, the jug tipped over. So we came home. Water was running out from underneath the trailer because it ran down, because it poured on the mattress.
Yeah.
And we laughed about it. It was all good.
So it was all wet in there.
Yeah. So we just slept on the other in the trailer. I call it her bed, her house.
The other trailer.
Yeah, the motorhome. The bus. It's actually a bus.
Okay. And what do you guys do when you get home? So you get home in the afternoon, and then what happens after that?
Be aware that from here, Dennis is going to switch back and forth between what happened on Saturday night and what happened on Sunday, the night of Lisa's death. It can be a little confusing to follow.
We got back to the house.
Okay.
And because we were out of water from the day before when I dumped all the water on the bed and we come home, I didn't go get water. We just went to the other trailer and we had bottled water that we drink out of usually.
Okay.
So we had water. So we went, me and her on Saturday night, we just hung out there a little bit and watched. I moved the television so we could watch TV in the bus. And I made something to eat on the grill. And I don't know. And she was writing letters or something. Oh, that Saturday night we had an argument about this. I said, well, baby, I'm tired as F, But I said, I ain't gonna be able to go to sleep till you lay down. Can you lay down? I said, and I got her a little, it's one of them, I guess meter maids have the little case. You can open up the top, and all your papers is in it. And when you put, it's got a clip on top, so you can put your ticket up under there and you can fill it out. It's like that, but it's plastic. I got that for her. I said, you can sit right here and you can use this to write on. I said, otherwise she uses her leg.
Oh yeah.
And
who was she writing letters to?
She said she was going to write a letter to her mom and one to her brother, and she wanted to make a grocery list. So that was okay, because that way we could make some groceries. I said, yeah. So I'm laying there, got my hand on her leg, and she's sitting up, leaning against the wall or the window, and I said, baby, how long is it be? I said, you told me it was a little bit. You were just about done. I said, no. I said, I want to go. And I looked, and she's writing names. I said, what are you doing now? She's writing baby names. I said, baby names? What? I said, you ain't had no baby, are you? Because we joked about that. I told her I was too old to be a dad, But
was that Saturday night or last night?
Saturday night.
Okay, so she was writing her letters and doing her letters.
And then I said, So I said, what do I got to do? I'm going to take it away from you, and, and put it up and tell you can't write? I said, I hate doing that. I said, I try to give you space to let you do what you want. I said, but if you tell me you're going to do something, let's do it. I said, baby. I said, because, like we're going to go somewhere. I'll ask her, you ready to go? Yeah. Then she'll go over to the bus, and I'll be out there. I'll go in. I said, Emma, what are you doing? I'm waiting. I said, for what? So we can go. I said, well, we walked out of the trailer. I told you, let's go if you want.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go. Well, why'd you go over to the bus? Well, I thought you had to do something. Because I maybe was going to go get the empty the lawnmower gas can or something. So she would go to the bus and wait for me to tell her to come. I mean, it was just, or I tell her, can you lock the trailer up? Because the door lock don't work, so I have a hasp on it and a padlock. Yeah. She put it in there, lock it, and then she said, is it okay if I bring my cell phone? I said, Emma, you can bring your cell phone. You do whatever you want with your cell phone. It's yours, okay?
You'll notice that throughout this interrogation, Dennis presents himself as a loving, supportive, almost paternalistic figure to Lisa. What he doesn't realize is that the detective sees right through the act, no matter how politely she listens to his posturing.
So did you guys make dinner last night? Did you grill out? Or what did you guys have for supper?
When we went back to the house,
Mm-hmm.
I said, we have to go get water. You want to go with me down to Kim's? My friend Kim Sawyer, she lives in Fountain. And she said, yeah, okay. I said, well, let me use my phone for a minute. So I called my friend Rupert,
mm-hmm.
and I said, hey, are you guys going to be home? And he said, yeah. I said, well, so we'll just go to Rupert's, okay? So went down there to Rupert's. And
where's Rupert's at?
In Fountain also. And they had, it's Rupert Vasquez. They had hot dogs and hamburgers.
Oh, that sounds good.
And chilies, roasted chilies,
mm-hmm.
Hatch chilies.
Yummy.
And some of their friends or family was there, and we visited. And because I brought different homeless girls there over the years, his wife pretty much, Dennis will be bringing her girlfriends in the house, and
was she upset you brought Emma?
No, just don't bring her in the house.
Dennis mentions bringing different homeless girls to his friend's house over the years. Lisa had been homeless when she met Dennis. According to Tricia, the friend with the BMW, Dennis had a history of seeking out homeless, drug-addicted women and giving them a place to stay so that he could leverage the situation to get sexual favors. The police already know all this, and while Dennis talks about it like it's no big deal, he doesn't realize that it only makes him look like even more of a dangerous predator, as if his criminal record wasn't enough.
So what time do you guys get back to your house last night after you go to the party at Rupert's and you guys eat dinner?
I'm guessing it was just about dark. I mean, it was dark enough we had to drive with the headlights on. I would let her drive, even though she had a driver's license. I would let her drive.
Okay.
But because when we was down there, Rupert gave her one of them the edibles.
Mm-hmm. Like some gummies or something?
It was a chocolate thing. It was some kind of chocolate. I never did see it. But she was looking for a lighter, and I was sitting at the picnic table with my back to her, and she was on the other side of the picnic table. I looked back, and she was laid across the table with a cigarette in her hand. Holy shit. I said, she's out. He said, I told her not to eat that whole thing. I told her that he said she'll be sleeping for a week.
Yeah, I mean, that could put you out if you take too much of that stuff.
And he said, and he laughed. So she's still holding the unlit cigarette in her hand like that. So I tapped her finger. I said, baby, are you sleeping? You in there? Hello? She said, yeah, I'm okay. I said, you didn't get your cigarette lit? No, it's okay. I'm going to save it. And I turned back to Rupert, and we kind of laughed about it, and she talked a little bit. And then I told her, look, let's go home. I said, you're out. I said, I'll drive. I said, I don't want you driving like that. I said, okay.
This mention of Lisa eating an edible is more than just a passing comment. Remember how Dennis claimed she had died from a drug overdose? Well, according to officers, this delusional felon tried to claim that the THC edible had triggered a fatal overdose. a medical reaction to cannabis that is almost unheard of.
So she got in, we got to the house, and she got out, and I had, because I don't have what you would call electricity, I got solar panels and batteries.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't run a refrigerator because it takes too much juice. I got an LED refrigerator, it doesn't run on, but the one I got now is like 11 amps, and it's more than my solar panels put out running full blast. So I don't have refrigeration, but I have the freezer outside, and I put ice in it. I buy those 16-pound bags of ice. Mm-hmm. So I got 2 bags of ice in the truck.
When you're going home last night, you had the ice?
After we left Rupert's, I went and got ice.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have ice in the truck, and the water bottles, which I didn't fill, because we got down there at 8, and, bullshitting around. Mm-hmm. I said, I'll just get the water tomorrow, because Emma's out of it. I said, I'll get home and get her in bed.
So you guys get home about, let's say like 8 o'clock, give or take.
So she gets out, and I said, you want to help me carry this in? Yeah, and she sat down in the lawn chair, and I'm carrying the stuff in. I opened the trailer, put my stuff in there. I said, can I sleep at your house tonight? I said, because I don't want to make this bed and all that shit, because I took the mattress out in the morning so it would sit out in the sun and dry. She said, yeah. She said, I like it when you come over and snuggle, because usually she stays at my house. We just stay there, because I got my stove, I got everything there.
In the camper trailer?
In my trailer, my 18-foot trailer. But she got all of her clothes. I put a little dresser in the bus for her, put her stuff in. She got stuff stacked on top of it, and like everything else, she starts something and she just does that, and then she forgets about putting it in the drawers after she folded all the clothes. And I know it sounds crazy, but I don't want a bunch of kids. I don't want a rocket science. I just want companionship, somebody, and she's all of that. I mean,
how would you describe your relationship with Emma? Do you guys have a good relationship?
I would say, I hollered at her a lot, because I tell her, look, we're going to do this, right? Yes, and then why do you sit down? We're going to go mow the lawn. You said the lawnmower you couldn't get it started, you didn't want to push, it was dying. I said, so I asked if you could just pick up the stuff in the yard, when I'm mowing, just pick that up. So I'll mow it, and you just kind of stay ahead of me, picking up anything, wind blowing papers in the yard, or the dog dragged something in the yard. I said, yeah, and I'm out there mowing. She ain't there. I said, where are you? I was in my bus. I said, well, I thought you were going to help me. If you want some help, what do you want me to do?
Dennis's decision to immediately start ranting about Lisa's behavior when asked about their relationship is strange, given the circumstances. Maybe his perception is too mixed up by drug use and lack of sleep to understand how bad this makes him look. Or maybe he genuinely thinks his treatment of Lisa was justified.
Was she affectionate?
Yeah.
Did she like to hold your hand and kiss you?
Yeah, all of that.
Did she have sex with you?
All the time. I mean, not all the time, but probably every day, not morning, noon, and night, but... And I tell her, because I like oral sex, and she'd say, I can do that. I said, baby, I'd rather kiss your lips and have you put them on there. Why does he get all the attention and make jokes out of it, And I think now, man, 20 years ago, that'd been great. Wouldn't have to beg for it or nothing.
Dennis doesn't know it yet, but this is more than just a casual question. Because of his background and details at the crime scene, his sexual relationship with Lisa is a central question in the investigation.
Did you guys have sex last night?
No.
Anything that could be perceived as sex? Touching, kissing?
I kissed her, and but when we got home, this is where the bruising and all this bullshit, when we got home, she sat down. I said, is it too hard to help, and she said no. And I opened up the bus, and when I come back, I have a little refrigerator I was going to try to get working, because lower energy, and see if I could get it going. Mm-hmm. The door fell off it, and that's probably why they got rid of it, was giving it away, because the hinge was not. And I said, look, how hard is it for you to help? And I said, just get in there and go to I said, you know what, I'm sick and tired of fighting everything. I said, I asked you if you can give me a glass of water. No, I can't get any water. But I said, Trish wanted to go in the store, and you want groceries, you're going to buy groceries and take care of everybody. I said, and she pulled away, be resistant. I said, look, now what the f***? I said, I said, I'm not bitching at you, what I really was. I mean, I'm bitching because she's, not helping. She done this. And I said, I don't know, somewhere in there, she was in the chair, and when I pulled her forward, the chair tipped over, and I said, what the chair? I said, and she's sitting on the ground. I said, you going to get up? I said, I'll just drag you. I said, I don't give a f***, I'll drag you. I said, I'm tired of this shit. And when she run it, I don't know what they call it, but, I mean, you started talking, like, loud and stuff, she just would freeze. I mean, she just, deer in the headlight, you couldn't get her to talk, nothing. I said, you ain't going to talk? You ain't going to talk? You ain't going to talk? Huh? And, taunting her.
And what, was she looking down, or was she looking up?
Well, she was looking down because she was on the ground. She was sitting on the ground. And I said something about, I'm just dragging her. So I grabbed her by the hand. I was pulling her, like, on the ground. I said, please, because I pulled her maybe, I don't know, from this wall halfway again, from the back of the bus to the door. And now we got to go up the steps. And I said, now, please, just get up, okay, Emma? And I grabbed her in the rib cage, stood her up. I said, no, just. So we get in the bus, and I'm feeling like shit because I'm hollering at her, and because, I mean, she's sweet, just got some problems, And, I always use the analogy, if you're messing with a barracuda, you're messing with a piranha, you're going to get bit. Well, this girl's got problems, so she's got them problems, so why be mad at her, because she's doing what she does. I mean, that's the way she is. It's, you don't get a pet piranha and get bit and say, oh, it's a piranha's fault. That's their nature. That's what they do.
Based on what the investigators already know, this little description could just as easily describe Dennis as it does Lisa. Whether he is self-aware enough to see that is another question.
But
so going back to
going
back to Emma last night, just so that I understand,
right.
You pull her out of the chair, you drag her to the front of the bus.
Is
that right?
Yes.
Okay. What happens next?
Then she gets on the bus, and I'm feeling like shit. And I said, look, can we talk? I said, just sit down, please. Can you just sit down? So she sits across the table from me, and she says, kid, something about, do you care if I smoke a bowl? I said, Emma, do you really need to? I said, you just took, I don't know, THC, whatever the hell that is. I said, in that chocolate bar. I said, you can't hardly stay awake. I said, do you really want to? She says, well, what if I just smoke some meth? She says, because that'll give me energy. I said, Emma, you don't need energy. I said, you need to go to bed and sleep. And I snatched her torch, the little torch. I mean, it ain't like she couldn't find a lighter. I've given her 100 lighters, probably. But that little butane torch, I snatched that. I said, look, I said, tomorrow morning, I said, if you want to smoke one, we'll smoke one. I say, but let's just go to bed. Then she won't talk to me now. I said, you ain't going to talk to me no more? Huh? You ain't going to talk to me? And I said, you don't love me no more? I said, you want me to take you downtown? I said, I can take you back downtown. You want to go downtown? No. I want to stay here with you. I love you, Dennis. I thought we were going to get married. I said, we will, baby. But I said, you can't. I'm trying to talk to you. You can talk to me, can't you?
Here, we have another moment where Dennis shows his astounding lack of self-awareness. Threatening to kick a formerly homeless woman out on the street, says all anyone needs to know about him. But the more he talks, the more his disturbing nature will be revealed.
I said, God damn it, so I slapped her like this. I said, what you want? Is that what you want? I said, you want to play hard? I said, we can play hard. We can see who's gonna win this. I said, I'll make you talk. I said, I can make you talk. I said, but you know what? You might lose the short round, but I said, when the police come and arrest me, put me in jail for the rest of my life, I said, you win then, right? No. I said, you're right. Nobody wins, baby. I said, no, come on. I said, so I go to the bathroom. I said, okay. And I come back over there, and I have a 5-gallon bucket with a garbage bag in it, a little 13-inch. It's got a toilet bowl rim on it and everything. It's from ice fishing. Mm-hmm. But I have that, about every 2 days, I just tie it up, take it down to KOA campground there, and they let me dispose it there. They don't even charge me. And I said, are you done? Or are you just sitting here? Are you just putting me off? What's going on now? I said, Emma, what the f-? I said, can't you talk to me if you're sick? I said, we'll go to the doctor. If you're got problems and can't go, I said, she said, do you need to use it? I said, no, baby, I don't need to use it. But I said, it's just kind of odd. I said, you never take half hour to go to the bathroom. Well, I'm just sitting here. I'm resting. I said, Emma, you're so tired you can't even talk, or what? I said, what is going on? I said, because I hollered at you today, are you going to punish me by not talking? And I mean, I swear, sometimes she is just that opposite. If I told her, Emma, you got to get out of the house is burning, you ain't telling me what to do, and she'll stay there and burn up rather than, I mean, I know she has that, I don't know if you say capacity or affliction, but, so I said, come on. Pull her up off the toilet. She had her pants. I didn't know that, but she had her pants, everything all on. She just was sitting there.
Okay.
So we go in the trailer. She walks to the trailer, and not the trailer, but the camper. And then she turns and goes down by the grill. I said, what are you doing now? So I'm going to have a cigarette. I said, Emma, you don't have any cigarettes. Well, I said, come on, God damn it. And I grabbed her by the arm and dragged her towards the house again, push her in there, and she ain't gonna talk. I said, you'll talk. And so I hit her on the chin, and I said, I can get harder. And I've been drinking already, so I don't know if I hit her much harder than I thought, but I see where it was like her face on this side was like purplish, colored. I know she bruises really easy. I mean,
they are now approaching the time of Lisa's death. Chillingly, reenacting his abuse doesn't seem to stir up any emotions in Dennis at all.
How many times did you punch her tonight?
I don't know. I mean, I know I hit her on the chin and I knocked her on the forehead, and I had hit her one time earlier, backhanded at the table right there. I said, you ain't gonna talk to me? I said, we can do this all night. You like this? So I hit her with the right and the left. I said, not hard, but just, progressively, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times each side, so that'd be 6, and then, on the chin, be 7.
And you hit her on the forehead?
I knocked on her head, I did that one time before when she didn't plug her cell phone in, she said it wouldn't charge. I said, you have to plug it in. Think, I said.
Mm-hmm.
That was not since she'd been there this time, that was when she lived out there before.
And what is she saying after you hit her?
She won't talk.
She still wouldn't talk to you?
She just don't say nothing.
Oh, I thought you were pissed. Were you pissed?
Then she, well, yeah, it's irritating. Just go to bed first. Just go to bed. I said, I'll sleep outside. I don't care. No, why don't you sleep with me? I said, see, you can talk. I said, I love you too, baby, but I said, why can't, that's how people talk. That's how people communicate, so they know where each other's at, what they're thinking, what they're doing, what they're feeling. I said, if you don't want to do something, tell me. I said, don't say yes because you want to go along. I said, and then sit here because you don't want to do it. I said, you don't got to go. I told you that this morning, right? No, I want to go with you. I want to be with you. I said, okay.
When does she start bleeding? When does Emma start bleeding? What smack was that? What punch was that?
On the mouth, when her lip.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she was on the bed, now she ain't gonna talk yet. And I was holding her nose.
Like how? Can you show me?
I picture it like that.
Her nose, okay.
And she really don't fight to get away. So then I put my hand flat across her mouth and her nose like that. I said, you ready to talk now? You ready to talk now? Shake your head. You ready to talk now? You ready to talk now? And I mean, I feel like I feel like...
That might be the understatement of the year.
So then I pushed out her throat, thinking...
How long was your hand over her mouth?
I mean, she talked to me after I went and I pulled the comforter up over her, and I said something about, was she going to wear her clothes to bed or what?
Mm-hmm.
She said, no. I said, okay. But she kept the shirt on because she's self-conscious about her breasts or something, so she wearing her shirt. Well, then she got up to go to the bathroom, so she put her pants on. She went outside to the bathroom, and I think when the cops were there, last night, I told them that she got up and called over me to go to the bathroom. I think that was before we actually went to sleep, because we first was on the bed, and she was partially undressed. Then she got up and put her pants on to go to the bathroom, and when she come back in, I told her, take them off. I said, just go to bed, baby. Let's just go to bed. I love you. I said, okay. I said, I'm sorry about all this. I said, but you just made me so mad. I said, I don't want to hurt you. I said, I don't want to fight with you. I said, I want to love you, okay? And she got all close, and she was bleeding at that point. And I said, are you all right? I said, your nose is bleeding. It's okay. It's okay. I said, Emma, it's never okay. I said, you don't got to settle for this. I said, baby, I said, you don't got to settle for this. I said, I know this is the way you are. I said, so I said, I should not be slapping you. I should not be doing that, okay? You understand that?
What happened to her throat? You said.
So far, the detective has let Dennis talk himself in circles. Thankfully, she interrupts his feeble attempts to sound remorseful and empathetic. No one's buying it.
What did you do to her throat?
She wouldn't respond this way.
Okay.
So I pushed down her throat. I said, you like that? Is that what you want? Is that what you want, huh? And she...
With one hand or two hands?
I think one hand.
So one-handed, your right or left hand?
Probably my right hand.
Was over her throat like I'm doing
this? I was like this. I was on the bed, and I was kind of like sitting up, and I said, is that how you want? That's what you want? And she's like... I said, like that? So I went from up above, I went up here, went down.
How long were you pressing on her throat?
I don't know. I don't know.
How long did it feel like?
It was more like I just pushed on it. It really wasn't like I was even holding it. It was just pushed on it. I don't. But I see today when she was laying there, this was like purple. I thought, damn.
Around the front of her neck, or
down her jaw. I think it was like purplish. And I think, where the f did that come from? And I said, maybe when I pushed on her throat, I said, hey, how you like? Is that what you want? This how you want? This what you want to be treated? And she got a kind of a weird thing. I don't know what it is, but I asked her, are you gonna come to bed? You gonna come to bed? No. I said, I thought we were gonna do something. Weren't we gonna do something tonight? We will. It's 3 a.m. I said, look. So I got out and took the paper out of her hand. I pushed her to bed. Is that what you want? I said, you want me just to throw you on her bed and treat you like some kind of a or something? And she's like smiling and laughing. I said, is that what you like? Do you like that like that? You want to be rough? I said, it'll take me a while to get used to that. I said, because you know what? I said, after being in prison for I said, I'm scared to death if you don't get a written consent. I said, because I don't want to go back to prison for that shit. I said, and every time the cops get involved, and there's something sex about it, I said, they lock me up, then they sort it out. You understand that? Yeah. I said, so is this what you like? Yeah, probably do. I said, well, maybe. I said, you don't got to settle for that. I said, you're better than that. I said, don't you enjoy just cuddling? I said, ain't that more fun? I said, just because we're going to have sex, you don't got to give me head. I said, you know what? I said, I'm not saying I don't like sex with you, and I'm not saying you ain't pretty, because you're very pretty. I said, there's a whole lot more to a relationship than just f***ing. I said, because you know what? I don't see, with you, I don't see it as f***ing. I said, I'm sharing something that's intimate with somebody that's special to me. I said, I've been with them girls down there, I went down there and get a hooker or whatever. I said, but bring them out, ride horse, spend the night, they're gone. I said, nobody stays here 3-4 months. You're the only one. And chastity, I said.
Dennis has returned to the topic of their sex life, completely unsolicited. Perhaps he realizes now that his record as a sex offender could be coming back to bite him.
So what happens with Emma after she's bleeding and you've choked her? What happens after that? You didn't tell me.
Well, we was in bed. And I'm not sure the bleeding maybe started in bed.
Okay.
Because I don't know if she was bleeding when we was at the table, because that's where I hit her on the chin, is in bed. That's where I pushed on her neck, was in bed. And when I was outside, I was going to drag her to the house, I had her by the arm and her shirt, and I pulled her to the trailer. There was no hitting there.
How'd she get outside? How'd she get outside the bus?
When?
After she's bleeding. And she's injured. Does she get outside? Do you take her outside, or?
Oh, this morning I woke up and I could smell the blood actually, and I felt like I said I had to go to the bathroom. I said, and I had no light in there. So I said, well, where's my cell phone? Because she had hers in the house, and last night she plugged mine in.
Okay.
So before all the hoopla, she was using my phone because her phone was cracked, so she didn't have hers with her yesterday. So I asked her where the cell phone was. She said, in the trailer. You want me to get it? I said, no, baby. I locked the trailer up. I said, it's fine. I said, we don't need the phone anyway. So now it's dark in the bus. We're sleeping, or at least I think we are. And I said, hey, look, I said, you need it right in my, can you move your knees? And she don't respond. I said, come on, Emma. And I pushed her legs down, and I pulled her in close, and she put her hand on. She snuggled up to me, and I could feel the blood. I said, Emma, you're bleeding. I said, you okay? I said, you need to go to the doctor? No. And I don't have no light, so I really can't see.
But she responded no, or
she said no.
Okay.
Yeah, she put her hand on me, pulled me towards her, and I just put her head against my chest and my arm behind her, and pulled her about halfway up on top of me. And she had a little nylon coat under her head, and I got a couch cushion pillow, not a couch cushion, but one of those little square couch pillows.
Mm-hmm.
As if Dennis's description of his violent abuse weren't disturbing enough. It gets worse. He went to sleep knowing that his girlfriend was bleeding from her mouth beside him and did nothing. He can talk all he wants about how much he loved her, but everything about that night says otherwise.
I woke up, I had to go to the bathroom. I said, baby, I said, you're bleeding, what? And I said, you okay? You okay? She ain't responding. And I felt that, and I could see that there's a motion sensor light outside the house, but until I moved, until I went outside, the light didn't come on. When I went back in to get my pants, because my keys to the house, my vehicles are it's in my pants, that light was on, and I could see the light coming through the window, and it's dark by her head. And I said, oh, I said, so I come back, my cell phone, I looked, I said, oh my, and I see her face is all like bloated, kind of like bloated up. I said, Emma, you okay? And I rolled her over, and I don't know if when I rolled her over, if maybe the air in her lungs, because at the time I'm not thinking she's dead at all. I mean, I'm thinking she's just sleeping, and she's not responding, because I seen the bubble in her nose. When I rolled her over, the blood. And I said, well, she got to be alive if she's bleeding, because the blood wouldn't be coming if she ain't bleeding. I said, but I got to get her in the house where I can see. I got electricity and everything. And when I went to pick her up, first I brought her legs around so they go out on the floor, because there's tires on one side and the bench to the table thing on the other side, and there's just a space a little bit wider than this chair, about like that, to get in and out of the bed. So I brought her, because her legs are down, I grabbed her by the legs, pulled them around, and I see her pants are slid down about to her knees, and they're wet. And I remember her saying something about having to go to the bathroom, and I thought she fell trying to get out of bed to go to the bathroom one time, but I'm thinking that was before we ever went to bed, that she was going to go to the bathroom. And she got up to go to the bathroom. I mean, we was in bed, but she got up to go to the bathroom before we went to sleep. Then she came back in, and she put her pants back on to go out there to go. But when she was laying there last night, when I went to help her out of the bed, when I pulled the comfort thing off and I pulled her around, her pants were like about at her knees, and it fit fairly tight, so it ain't like in the night moving around they slid off her. I'm like, and then I see it was wet. And I said, oh shit, maybe that's why I thought she had had to go to the bathroom last night sometime, because her pants was wet. Because she might have said something about going to the bathroom, and I was about asleep. I said, yeah, okay. And then she maybe couldn't get up or something, and she just wet her pants, because her pants was wet. So maybe that's why she pulled them down.
Like much of Dennis's ranting, his tangent may seem confusing, but it's important. Lisa's pants being down and Dennis's criminal history have led investigators to believe that he assaulted and eventually killed her because she refused to have sex with him. But Dennis has already prepared an excuse.
Because I can't guarantee. I mean, I've been drinking. I was tired at some point, but I didn't have no sex with her. I basically told her I didn't want to.
Did she ask to have sex with you, or did she offer to give you a blowjob last night? Or
not last night.
Okay. Was she still warm when you're touching her? Did she feel warm?
Yeah. Well, because when I got to go to the bathroom myself, and I felt that on the bed, I went to get my cell phone so I could see what the heck was going on. And I come in, I seen all that dark. I said, "Holy shit!" And because it was blood on her nose and on her side of her face, I picked her head up and I wiped it, and it felt warm to me. And I got outside and I got my Mazda's parked right in front of my trailer, and her bus was kind of a part between them, kind of. And I said, "Look, baby, I'm gonna put you on the hood. I'm gonna put you on the hood so I can see better with this light." Because I thought, gee, I don't want to try to drag her in the trailer. Because I figured she would. When I picked her up, I figured she would get up and walk to the trailer with me. Right. And when she didn't, I thought, man, she's hurt worse than I thought, But so I put her on the hood. And I went in and got the comforter, put it around her, and I tried to feel her pulse in her neck, tried to listen to her heart. And I said, oh. So I went down to Liz. I said, Liz, I need some help. I said, I don't know if Lisa's dead or what. I said, but her face is all purple. I said, I thought I found her pulse, but then when I tried to move her, I said it was like her legs were stiff. I said, like she's got rigor mortis set in. She go, oh my God, Dennis, I can't do that. I said, well, I'm calling 911. I said, here. I said, you want to call 911? I said, you dial it. I'm going to try to do CPR or something. I said, and so they told me, don't, because I had her on the hood. They said, put her flat on the ground. Well, I went and grabbed my mattress and took it out and threw it on the ground. And so and as I'm starting, and it read, if I'm going to do CPR, I can't do it against a mattress because it's going to give, So the lady's on the phone. I said, I have her on a pillow top mattress on the ground. I said, would it be better if I just put her on the bare ground? I said. They said yes. So I pulled her off the mattress, and I had Liz throw the comforter on the ground underneath her, and then I started doing CPR. And they said, well, they was trying to talk me through it. Liz said, here they come, and then it was a fire truck. She said, I don't know why they brought the fire truck. I said, the EMTs, the fire truck, all respond. I said, don't trip. I said, just guide him through the gate.
This is a good point. Do you want to take a quick break? Do you have to use the restroom? To get some water? There's another one if you're thirsty.
I've already said a whole lot more than I was going to, but...
Let's take a minute. Let's take a breather.
So far, the detective's strategy has been to let Dennis talk himself out with only the occasional interruption. She's given him just enough rope to hang himself with. But now they both need a break. And when they come back, there are a few final details she needs to figure out. In particular, what drove Dennis to beat his own girlfriend to death?
And I guess, why did the letters upset you that she was writing to her mom? What was in there?
If that ain't what it was I told her when we got home, I said, I'm going to try to go to bed early, okay? That was on Saturday night. It's like 9 o'clock. I said, I'd like to get to sleep. I said, I was up late last night, or I was up late. I said, all day out there in the goddamn sun. I said, I'm tired as heck. I said, but I ain't going to be able to go to sleep till you come to bed. So she said, I'm just gonna write I said, you write your mom, write your son, let's go, And then she was there. I mean, it was probably about an hour. And she just about done. She said, yeah, I don't know, Mom, it was my son. I said, well, here, baby, get that case that I told you about. And so I said, I'll sleep on the inside, you sleep on the outside. And she was sitting there writing, and I was laying there with my hand on her waist or on her stomach, or because I wouldn't want to interfere with her arms, or I had my hand on her hip, or what, and my pillow kind of leaned up against her. And I kind of dozed off and woke up, and she was still writing. And I said, ain't you about done, baby? I want to snuggle with you, okay?
After the explicit descriptions of his violent behavior, Dennis's loving boyfriend act is utterly unbelievable. Now it's time to switch to something more explicit, their sex life.
What about last night? Were you able to get hard?
No, I don't think so.
Is that part of why you were upset last night? Because that can be very frustrating.
It is, and but she don't, and all the time when I couldn't get an erection, whatever, she never once that I know of, that I can remember say, Dennis, so anything about, you can't even get hard and you can't even stay hard.
Was she upset last night you couldn't get hard? Was that part of the argument?
There was, I know it sounds crazy, but there was very seldom ever any argument about sex with her like that. I mean, now if I asked her if we could do this or can we do that, she would say yes, and then I'd be waiting, or something like that. Like in the morning, I'd stay in bed longer. I'd say, "We fool around this morning before I get up." Before I get up, I said, "I gotta get going, but you can stay in bed if you want. But can we fool around?" Yeah. So I just sleep a little while. So I cuddle up to her, and she pushed back against me, and I might doze back off, and I get up and say, "I gotta do it tonight." I said, "I gotta get going."
Because what I don't understand is that Emma's pants are down.
And that's what I said.
I'm confused about that. Can you clear that up for me? Why her pants are down?
That's what I said. I don't know. Maybe that's where I got the idea. She got up in the night to go to the bathroom, and she said she had to go to the bathroom or something. And because I thought she fell off the bed trying to get out, because I was on the outside. I thought she fell off the bed, and that's what I told him this morning. I said she got to go to the bathroom, and she fell, and I just told her, just cover her on the bed, just go to, but this morning her pants was wet, so I'm thinking maybe she wet her pants and pushed them down because she wet her pants. I don't know, but her pants was wet. I mean, I told him I didn't really feel the bed because I was more concerned about the blood, and I said so I didn't even see it. But I said when I went to try to put her pants up, pull them up, because when I turned her to get her out of the bed, I was bringing her feet to the edge so she could stand up. And when I realized she wasn't going to stand up, that's when I turned her the other way. And so maybe, I don't know, they fit somewhat tight, snug. And I don't know if maybe we're pushing her around, sliding her, and if they slid down there, because I didn't see them actually down until I went to pull her off the bed. I said, when I grabbed them to pull them up, they were wet, and I said, she maybe wet the bed.
Is it possible you had sex last night and you don't remember it?
I mean, I wouldn't rule anything totally out, but if it was going to be anything, it'd have been like oral sex or something like that, because trying to do something because that mattress, there's just that one narrow spot. Now, I mean, I might have laid on top of her. I mean, I don't remember doing this last night, but we could do it that way, laying on top of her and hugging her, kissing her, but with her mouth bleeding, hugging and kissing her.
It's difficult to know what to make of these claims. By now, Dennis knows he's looking at a murder charge. Being honest about whether sex had something to do with it can hardly make him look worse than he already does.
How many times have you hit her before previously? Because you told me one that you were arrested for, but how many other times?
But see, I didn't. And she said that, I mean, there wasn't, the bruise on her, or whatever it was that was by her eye, was not from what she was talking about. And like I said, she's very...
But how many other times has this happened is what I'm asking. 1 time, 20 times, 100?
I would say maybe 3 times.
Over the last 2 years that you've known her?
I remember the first time when she was at Jones, when we lived in the trip. Joan wasn't there, but at Jones, when she was walking town to get cigarettes. I don't think there was ever any hitting or.
Okay.
So maybe I was 3 or 4 times at the most.
Okay.
I mean, last night was probably the worst it's ever been. I mean, because I pushed on her throat. I never did that before. Pushed on her chest. Never did that before.
Where'd you push on her chest? You didn't tell me about
right
that.
Here.
What?
She ain't gonna talk. She ain't got no hair. And like right here.
In the center of her chest?
Yeah.
How many times did you hit her there?
I just pushed her. I didn't hit her. It was like like just pushing it. I said, can you breathe now? Can you talk now?
What was her response?
She just looked at me.
And where were her hands at when all this conversation was
When
going on?
when I got into bed, her hands were in front of her, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to pull her up towards me.
Mm-hmm.
So her head was up this end.
Okay.
So it was probably right about in here somewhere when I got into bed. And she said, and it's got to be coming up here. And she said, I want to fool around if you do. I said, babe, I don't want to fool around. She said, you don't got to do that anyway. I said, you know what? I said, your mouth is, where I split your lip or something. I said, because you got blood coming off your teeth, right? And of course I can't see it, it's in the dark, but I could feel the blood on my hand. And I said, are you all right? I said, you need to go to the doctor? She said, no, I don't go to the doctor. I don't like the hospital. I said, all right, baby. I said, we can't be doing this anymore. I said, because you know what? I said, it's just, somebody's going to seriously get hurt, and, nobody's going to win here.
Through all of this rambling, Dennis finally gets something right. After all their fighting, nobody won. Lisa is dead, and Dennis is looking at a lengthy prison sentence.
I said, if we got to, I said, much as I don't want to, I said, I'm going to let you go, I said, because I can't fight with you every day, I said this, and we don't really fight every day, but I said it like that.
Will any of her saliva be on your penis?
I don't think so. I mean, no.
No? Okay. When's the last time she gave you head?
The night before.
So Saturday night?
Mm-hmm.
Or Monday morning, Saturday night? About what time?
3:30 in the morning, maybe.
Going into Sunday? After midnight on Saturday, going into yesterday morning? Okay.
And now I don't know if from having the blood on my hands or from sleeping there, but there's like blood on the top part of the pelvis, on the pubic hair.
Okay.
But there's not, because I thought the same thing. I thought, because I felt that blood, and I thought, when I woke up, it was like sticky, and I said, oh.
Did you ejaculate in her mouth yesterday morning?
Partially, I think.
Okay. I just need to make sure that, she will undergo a medical exam and some other things, but I just want to make sure that if there's going to be semen or pubic hair or any of that stuff on her, I just want to know, where it would be, what I need to be looking for. And if there was some sort of aspect of you were going to have sex or you got mad at her because she wouldn't have sex, that could be important to the case. So that's why I'm asking. Right,
but we did not have sex last night.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm clear and that I understand.
And intercourse, I don't know, the last time we ejaculated in her was probably a week ago.
Okay.
At least.
I'm going to leave, but is there anything else you'd like to add or anything else you'd like to tell me? No? Okay. Any questions for me before I do leave? Okay. My card, you can take that with you. My phone number and email are still the same. My title, like I explained, has changed just a little bit.
So what is the status with me now?
Oh, so you're going to be arrested for assault, and you're going to go to jail, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. One of the detectives is going to come in like we talked about and take pictures. Remember we talked about that? And probably get your DNA and some other stuff, but as far as you and I talking, we're probably done.
They got my DNA 20 times already.
Yeah, they're probably going to take it again, just so you know. And your clothes and stuff, but of course, you have blood all over you. Of course your clothes are going to go. But there's my card if you have any questions. There's some more water for you. Do you need to use the restroom again?
No.
Okay. Just hang tight for me.
Soon after being charged with assault and domestic violence, Dennis Hayes was booked into El Paso County Jail on a first-degree murder charge. While it wasn't a typical confession, his retelling of events, extensive criminal history, and the condition of Lisa's body were more than law enforcement needed to indict him. On June 6, 2023, Dennis pled guilty to second-degree murder in the killing of Lisa Weidlich. He was sentenced to 48 years in prison. It is unclear if medical examiners found any evidence of SA against Lisa that night. While Dennis tried to imply to detectives that Lisa was emotionally dependent on him and estranged from her loved ones, her devastated family said otherwise. Her brother told the court that Lisa was a great big sister and that Dennis should never be allowed out on the streets again. It's hard to understand what was going through this murderer's head, how he could describe his actions seemingly without knowing how evil they made him look, or how he thought he could pin her death on an edible. What is clear is that Lisa Weidlich didn't deserve the horrors that he put her through on the night of her death and throughout their relationship.